conducted tomorrow on Tuesday after the office brings in a forensic pathologist. So once again, that autopsy could take a few
so
hours
before
to
I can even
several
get off this
hours,
live
depending
stream,
on how
we're gonna have to talk about this. So it's called the zone of death. That if you search that, there is a history about this zone, and there are now questions about this being a possibility in Gabby's case. The reason why is, let me see if I can find something on it. Hold on, zone of death, like a news article or something. 1 second. Oh, people are already talking about it. Okay. Yeah. Let me, oh, guys, you guys got to see this and hear this.
Legal loophole could have killer consequences in southern Idaho.
That's because in part of Yellowstone, it's not how to get away with murder, it's where. Fox 9's Lacey Darrow reports.
When people think of Yellowstone, usually they think about Old Faithful, roaming bison, and crystal clear streams. What may never cross anyone's mind, murder. In particular, how to get away with murder.
Well, that's pretty random. That's not something I would have contemplated.
An unsavory thought, to be sure.
Thanks for the heads up. Yeah.
I can't rest too easy or be too amused by this, because really this is potentially a horrible thing that could happen.
Brian Laundrie, a law professor at Michigan State, maintains the sliver of Yellowstone that rests within Idaho is the perfect place to commit the perfect crime.
According to my theory, they would have to let the person go.
I guess it's random. I guess you could do it if you were really crafty.
Sounds crazy, right?
It's strange, interesting, and I hope no one takes advantage of it.
In fact, the legality of a Yellowstone murder comes down to the old saying, location, location, location.
The Sixth Amendment requires that in a federal criminal trial, the jury be from the state and district where the crime was committed.
The thing is, no one lives in this portion of Idaho, so there's no one to choose a jury from. Federal court districts follow state lines. Wyoming is in the District of Wyoming. Idaho is in the District of Idaho. Mostly, the 50-mile stretch of Yellowstone located in Idaho is in the District of Wyoming.
Because Congress, when they drew the district lines back in 1894, because they colored outside the lines here, they make it impossible for someone in that situation to get a proper Sixth Amendment jury.
So, purely hypothetically, if you, me, or anyone else were to, say, partake in a murderous vacation to the remote Idaho section of Yellowstone, you might just maybe get away with murder.
Don't tell him where this area is.
No, so I can stay out of it or just be extra cautious. Wait a minute, did you sign those papers for the insurance?
Colt acknowledges his theory is by no means airtight. Colt says if you conspired to kill outside of the area, then committed the crime in no man's land, you could find yourself in hot water with a conspiracy charge. But as for a murder charge, you'd be guilty as sin, but still free as a bird.
For me, it just seems very far-fetched that anything would ever happen in that area anyway.
A common argument is that the state wouldn't just let someone get away with murder. They'd find a way to prosecute. But because it's federal land, the state has no power to prosecute crimes there.
Hopefully we're all good people up here and that doesn't happen.
Colt says he doesn't encourage anyone to commit the crime. In fact, he wanted to find a solution to the problem.
I didn't want to call attention to this if I didn't have to. If I could get it fixed without anyone knowing about it, that would be great.
Andy says it won't take much to change the law.
So all they have to do is redraw the district lines and say the District of Idaho is Idaho, the District of Wyoming is Wyoming, but they haven't done that.
More than a decade after Colt published his paper, the loophole still exists, and Colt's not giving up, but he's tackling this fight far away from Yellowstone.
I wouldn't go there for all the tea in China, because I just know the irony gods would have a field day with that if I set one foot in that place.
Lacey Darrow, Fox 9 News at 9.
This is a map of Yellowstone National Park. For the most part, the park is in Wyoming, but it extends a bit into Montana and Idaho. This little 50 square miles section in Idaho is what concerns us. It's called the Zone of Death because of a loophole that exists in the Constitution of the United States. If someone were to exploit that loophole, they might be able to get away with murder. Yellowstone was established in 1872 before Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana joined the Union. It's federal land and always has been. But federal land across the U.S. is split up and divided into its corresponding state district courts, except for Yellowstone. And this is where the loophole begins. Law professor Brian C. Colt points out in his 2005 paper, The Perfect Crime, that Yellowstone National Park was assigned fully to Wyoming's district court, even though small portions fall into Montana and Idaho.
So, unlike every other district, the District of Wyoming includes land in other states.
So, Colt asks the question, what happens if you are caught for a crime you committed in that 50 square mile Idaho region of the park? The first thing law enforcement would do is bring you to Cheyenne, the hub of the District Court of Wyoming, because the crime technically happened within Wyoming's jurisdiction. But Article 3, Section 2 of the United States Constitution says that the trial should happen in the state where you committed the crime. If you're a savvy murderer, you'll invoke your right to a trial in Idaho. So they bring you back to Idaho, no big deal.
In the Sixth Amendment, they said that they would require local juries. And the language they used is that the jury has to be from the state and district where the crime was committed.
This is called the vicinage clause. That leaves you with a sort of Venn diagram. You have the right to demand a jury from that middle area, where the state in which you committed the crime, that's Idaho, overlaps with the judicial jurisdiction where you committed the crime, the Wyoming district that has jurisdiction over Yellowstone National Park. And here's the problem.
Nobody lives there. There's no way for them to give you a trial, and so I argue they should have to let you go.
This could also happen in the Montana portion of the park, except a few dozen people do live there, so a jury could theoretically be called. Colt has proposed numerous solutions to Congress to fix the loophole, but they have yet to act.
All they have to do is redraw the district lines so that the District of Wyoming is Wyoming, the District of Idaho is Idaho, and the District of Montana is Montana. And if they do that, this all goes away.
So if you're planning a gathering of your adversaries, exes, and debtors, maybe try Yosemite.
Definitely want to give Vox their credit there. Let them run their shout out to Vox on that. But yeah, that has been a concern that because there's the reason why is there's been a couple of cases actually in which murders occurred in this what they call the zone of death. Now, I would like to check out this video here. It's titled Gabby Petito and the Zone of Death, episode 325. This is by someone named The Process. I'd like to hear what he has to say about this. And also, I think that we should get that exact location and look at the map and see if it's in the zone of death where her body was found. Ugh. Let me drop a link to this man's video here. This is someone named The Process. And this is a link to his video. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Much love, y'all. But let's see here. I'm going to get that exact location because I have it. It was Spearhead. I'm gonna get it, and we're gonna look at it on the map and see if it's in that zone of death. Let me go forward here past his intro. Well, he's actually showing the timeline. Sorry about the music, but
hey everybody, episode 325, The Process. Stayed snugly warm last night because of my dietary habits. Goya beans. Oh, have you guys been following the
let's hear what he has to say about this
case? Oh man, that's interesting, huh? What a weird, wild ride. Murderins. I got some conspiracies to put down. You guys know about the zone of death in Idaho? That section of Yellowstone Park, which is almost impossible to find a jury of your peers because of where it's located. If you guys want to blow your mind, check out the zone of death in Idaho in Yellowstone Park. And there's some weird information coming out about this case. Like, I watched the body cam footage. I've been kind of following along because I'm interested in true crime and stuff. And wow. Okay. So there's a lot of places in the United States and the world that just swallow people up. And Yellowstone Park / the zone of death is one of those locations where it is rugged wilderness. It's wild. And then there's state lines of 3 states in one national park. And so there's a section of Idaho, above Driggs and then below West Yellowstone, that's called the zone of death. It's a 50-mile strip that heads down the west side of Yellowstone Park. And I'm telling you what, people that commit murder out there got a lot of options. Okay, it's rugged. A lot of people keep to themselves. You're out there for the peace and tranquility. There are boiling hot pots that can swallow a human body or anything in a matter of minutes. Somebody makes the wrong move in there and you're cooked. And then you got the wildlife that like to join in, the bears, the wolves. You'd be gone in a matter of minutes if you got in the right scenario. So I've been following this case, and one thing, I followed it before any of the information came out, and it was kind of interesting to hear the Utah newscasters and the newscasters cite the stuff about what they knew at the time, and then watch the body cam footage of the stop that these guys, the Gabby and her boyfriend had in Zion National Park in Utah. They got pulled over because they had some domestic dispute on the road in front of a cop. So they pulled them over, and you can see there's a lot to be learned there. And then another interesting fact that kind of blew my mind was a couple got brutally murdered and shot to death that were at the same grocery store around the exact same time as Gabby was there. And that's weird and interesting. What? They got shot to death and discovered half naked on their honeymoon or something. Check into that. And then the case kind of goes funky for me for a minute. They've been living in the van for 5 months. So getting DNA evidence or luminol readings off the inside of the van. Anybody that's been living in their van for 5 months, you put luminol in there and it's going to glow like a glow stick. Because they've been living in there. There's all kinds of fluids, and that would be a difficult one. Okay. But what gets me and what is strange is that they went to Yosemite allegedly and then cut back over to go up towards Yellowstone Park. That's strange. Okay, there is so much area between those two locations, or those three locations. Zion to Yosemite, and then Yosemite to Yellowstone. You're crossing like the spots, like the big spots. Okay, this is kind of a strange case. It's a very interesting and very strange case. Some information came out today about how people picking him up while he was hitchhiking in West Yellowstone. Yeah, I guess he was trying to make it from like West Yellowstone to Jackson Hole and jumped out before he got to the exit at the West Thumb. So that's right in the death. That's right in the zone of death. I mean, you're talking no cell service, no internet connection, not a lot of people. I mean, with the COVID and stuff that's going, it's not as busy as it normally would be. And you're talking about some of the most wild, rugged terrain, mountains, huge, nasty rivers, boiling hot geysers.
See, that's why, guys, we seen the horses. Remember, the horses were tied up, and they had gotten to the site on horseback. We seen that yesterday, matter of fact, in the footage, when they had the tent up and they were, with covering the body essentially. There were helicopters in the air. So is where Gabby Petito found in the zone of death. Okay. So let's see here. Give me a second. I'm actually pulling up a map. Shout out to Dalai Lama. She's been helping me out today with sending me a lot of good links and stuff. Okay, first of all, let me get the specific area where she was actually, because it's actually, I want to say Spearhead or something of that effect. But give me a second. I'm going to get that info. But let's hear a little bit more about this zone of death.
This is probably going to be the craziest story ever. It's not really about disappearances, but it's something that happens in a national park, and it's very
yes.
Very
oh my God, yes.
Got a lot to do with the law.
Yes, it's so interesting, isn't it?
Bullcrap. But
I am working on a late night show where we are going to be talking about just that sort of thing. Cryptozoology, all of that. But yes, there are some really weird, strange, cryptid things in these national parks, in these federal parks. It's very interesting. But what I'm doing right now is I'm playing a little bit about this so we can get to know a little bit more about the zone of death. I'm going to actually, I'm pulling up the exact location where Gabby Petito's body was found, and I'm trying to figure out if that is in what they call the zone of death. So let's hear a little bit more about the zone of death here.
Alternative form on Facebook, and I actually sent a couple of videos to some people in certain forums about it, and everybody was completely freaked out and shocked. Well, got the story for you here today, folks, and this story is about the zone of death in Yellowstone National Park.
Yellowstone Park is a very mysterious place. Most people stick to the well-traveled paths, to the paved roads, to the overlooks. Once you get off those well-trodden tourist trails, you are in real wilderness. Legend has it in the park that there is an area known as the Zone of Death. And it's a 50 square mile area in the far southwest corner of the park that lies in Idaho. And a legal scholar pointed out some years ago that it would be impossible to create a jury of your peers in this area because no one lives in this small area of the park. So his argument is that there's a constitutional problem with charging anyone with a felony that were to be committed in this area, and technically you could get away with murder there. But no serious legal authorities believe that you could actually get away with something like this there. But there is a vibrant internet dialogue taking place over the things you could get away with in this area. And if you look at the people that we're talking about here, I mean, there's doomsday beliefs. There's, the world is coming to an end in July of 2020. These are clearly people that are susceptible to believing conspiracy ideas. These are the type of people that may well have fallen for this urban legend, this national park legend, that you can get away with murder in this 50 square mile area of Idaho. If someone actually tried to do that, they're not gonna get away with it. It's not gonna hold up in court. That doesn't mean people wouldn't try.
This morning, we have an update on the story of a CEO who made a
Yellowstone Park is a very mysterious place. Most people stick to the well-traveled path.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm actually pulling up a map of the zone of death and the location where Gabby's body was found. That was called Spread Creek Dispersed Camping Area. So that's the name of the like location or the campground right where this happened. So if I just let me just throw this in here in a map, and let me just bring it up on the map. Okay. So if I look for, so apparently there is a river right there as well, but I mean, it's definitely, it's not like, well, there, I think that's probably pretty damn close, I think. Let me see if I can find it looking this way. Dispersed. Spread Creek. There we go. Okay. Regardless or not, so then let me pull up a map of the zone of death. Zone of death actual map of this 50-mile square radius. And does it fall into that? Very curious. Hold on. And I will bring this up on screen here in just a second. I just want to get my bearings here first. It's a crazy anomaly, but it has to do with the Sixth Amendment, which dictates that a jury has to be comprised of people from the state and or federal district where the crime was actually committed. And because that portion of Yellowstone and the park itself, you know, lies within the jurisdiction of Wyoming, basically a jury for a crime committed there would have to come, you know, from people from both states. It's crazy. And then the other problem, like they were saying, like you were hearing in the other news articles, is that there's no way to, there's no one there to be on a jury. I mean, it's that nuts. All right, I'm still trying to get a nice map here, guys. Google says when I do a search for zone of death on Google, Google's like, I don't know what you mean. You know what I mean. Dang it. Let me just see if somebody has a map here. Oh, wow. So it looks like there is a huge possibility that this did happen in that zone of death, guys. Let me share this with you. Shout out to the New York Post. Let me share this. And I'm actually going to spin off an additional highlight video on this as well, specifically talking on this topic of the zone of death in relation to Gabby's case. So, what does Yellowstone's zone of death have to do with Gabby Petito? Okay. Let's take a listen.
All as one team with one common goal,
Not
which
the
is, of course,
commercial,
servicing our
of
customers
course.
and the community.
Not 15 seconds of commercials, but here we go.
Operated every way that I
Remember
can. I
this?
wish I had information or I would give more. This is all I have is I gave to the police.
She need to go sit her ass down somewhere. I don't even know why she came out here talking. She maintained her ignorance.
I haven't been able to talk to him. I wish I could talk to him.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Petito last called her family from Grand Teton National Park, which neighbors Yellowstone National Park, where this glitch in the Constitution could make a 50-mile strip of land the perfect place to get away with murder. A 2005 academic paper titled The Perfect Crime by Michigan State University law professor Brian Laundrie suggests there is a 50 square mile swath of Idaho in which one might be able to commit felonies with impunity. The entire Yellowstone National Park falls under the Federal Judicial District of Wyoming, including an uninhabited small strip of land behind the Idaho state border, now known as the Zone of Death. The Sixth Amendment requires all criminal prosecutions to be heard by a jury from the state and district where the crime was committed. It is potentially impossible to try someone for murder in the zone of death because there is no one to summon for a jury who lives in both the state of Idaho and the District of Wyoming. Okay? Now, this 2005 academic paper suggests the zone of death is a 50 square mile swath of Idaho in which one might be able to commit felonies with impunity. And this red area would be the area that they call the zone of death, and that is absolutely not where Gabby's body was located. She was located in well, hold on. Yeah, cuz here's Bridger Teton National Forest down here. Hold on, let me bring my map up cuz I actually have a map up of this. Of Spread Creek. Yeah. Let me just Yellowstone National. And I'm just comparing it to this map. Yep. Yellowstone. Okay, where's Old Faithful on this map? Old Faithful. Yeah. But close, very, very close. I can tell you that. Very close. Let me kind of zoom in here. But yeah, it does not appear to be in this specific zone of death area. So that's good. Now, a crime committed in the zone of death has never been brought before the courts. So it's uncertain how the loophole would be interpreted. Isn't that crazy? They haven't even brought a case like this to the courts. Never happened. This loophole's nuts. Okay. Social media sleuths have suggested the zone of death is the most logical place to search for the missing 22-year-old who they were talking about, Gabby Petito, who never returned from a cross-country road trip with her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. The last text message from Gabby Petito's phone warned that she didn't have phone service in Yosemite National Park and was sent 2 days before her van emerged in Florida. And this is another very detailed timeline, you guys, of their trip. This entire situation. So just keep note of this timeline. Some of these are photos that they actually posted on their social media. Now, Petito's mother is not convinced that that final message came from her daughter, but has so far refused to elaborate on who she believes sent the text and whether she received any other unusual messages. Now, Calt has disputed suggestions that this theory makes murder legal in the zone, but instead he has claimed it presents a sound reason why it might be harder to prosecute someone for it successfully. So look at this thread. Someone says, this was on Twitter. So the boyfriend definitely killed Gabby Petito, right? Question mark. What the, F is going on? Everything is super vague about this disappearance. Hashtag Gabby Petito. This person, Carter, responds and says they must check the zone of death, the area of Yellowstone where you can legally get away with murder. Why has no one mentioned this yet? Now, Teton National Forest. This is about the area where Gabby was found. So she was not found in this area. Now, Congress has long been called to draw some judicial district boundaries to follow state lines to place Idaho's portions of Yellowstone inside the District of Idaho. So, it's crazy, guys. But yeah, that is called the zone of death. And it's been the subject of a lot of documentation, or I'm sorry,